Welcome to CMBG News. I'm April Howard. In today's top headlines, talks between political leaders and Greek president ended Wednesday night with still no announcement of a new prime minister and no confirmation of the imminent resignation of Prime Minister George Papandreou. Talks will resume Thursday morning. Papandreou's office said earlier he would hand in his resignation to the country's president Wednesday, but the move was postponed until at least tomorrow. Greece's current Prime Minister George Papandreou went on to national television last night to announce that a new interim government had been formed. He did not name his successor. What he did, however, give was a sort of graduation speech, summing up his moves in recent years to stabilize help the country, expressing the country's continued commitment to the European bailout, and urging political parties to transcend their differences. Mr. Papandreou said the country's new government would signal the beginning of a new political mentality, a new political culture. He said the interim government would make necessary efforts to justify the sacrifices made by the Greek people over the past 2 years, referring to a raft of wage and pension cuts as well as a hefty tax increase. Some interpret the tone of his speech as signaling his departure not only from Greek politics but from the country itself. Papandreou said, "I never put myself in a position above the national good. For me, Greece is above everything. Wherever I go, I will carry the Greek flag in my heart." He added that he would do everything he could to support the new prime minister and the government. Over in Italy, President Giorgio Napolitano said concerns about whether Berlusconi would actually leave office are completely unfounded. He said economic reforms demanded by the European Union will be passed by Parliament in a matter of days, and that he would work to avoid a prolonged period of political uncertainty. Napolitano issued a statement after markets pounded Italy on Wednesday, seeing a key borrowing rate of well above 7% level and eventually forcing other Eurozone countries like Greece and Portugal to seek bailouts. Longtime Penn State head coach Joe Paterno will retire at the end of 2011 season, he said in a statement this morning. Paterno said he was absolutely devastated by the developments regarding a child sex abuse scandal involving a former assistant football coach and 2 university officials. He added, "I grieve for the children and their families, and I pray for their comfort and relief." Paterno's contract was set to expire at the end of the season. Some had called for him to resign because of his response to allegations brought to him in 2002 by a graduate assistant who said he had seen retired defensive coordinator Jerry Sandusky sexually assaulting a young boy in the shower at the football complex. "There have been some criticisms of the way we handled some of the poor victims," the legendary coach told a cheering crowd Tuesday night. Meanwhile, calls coming from a tip line from people claiming to be victims of retired defensive coordinator Jerry Sandusky have been brisk, said a source close to the investigation, but police are still attempting to verify the claims. 2 other Penn State officials have also been arrested and accused of failing to report the abuse. On Sunday, the university said the officials had stepped down, one of them returning to retirement and the other taking administrative leave. Over in political news, Herman Cain, along with the other GOP presidential candidates, are scheduled to take part in a Republican debate in Michigan on Wednesday. Tuesday, Cain said he had no memory of the first accuser to publicly describe misconduct by the GOP candidate presidential hopeful, and he rejected the growing number of allegations as a politically motivated attempt to discredit his front-running campaign. Cain described his newest accuser, Sharon Bilek, as a troubled woman put up to make false allegations by forces trying to derail his presidential bid. Cain said he considers sexual harassment to be a serious issue and said respect for women is a top priority for him. He has said he's seen sexual harassment in the workplace personally, with both men and women harassing and where women have attempted to sexually harass men. Cain concluded the press by saying his withdrawal from the presidential race ain't gonna happen and that we will get through this. In these tough economic times, even the government has to cut back on simple luxury. Wednesday, President Obama began taking steps to cut what the White House deemed wasteful spending in the federal budget, targeting areas such as government travel, the distribution of smartphones and laptops to government workers, and limiting who gets a free car for official duties. The plan builds on a campaign to cut waste program, which the administration says has already saved $8.5 billion. The latest plan aims to cut spending by 20% on travel, technology, and federal vehicles. The administration is directing agencies to cut back on travel and conference-related spending and instead use video conferences. The administration says it costs about $9 million a year for all of Washington's official chauffeur cars. A poll released Tuesday painted a picture of a religious electorate that has a strong preference towards religious candidates. According to the Public Religion Research Institute survey, 2/3 of voters, 67%, said it is either very important or somewhat important for a presidential candidate to have strong religious beliefs. At the same time, the electorate is split over their comfort level with a specific religion, Mormonism, and the prospect of a Mormon serving as president. A majority of voters, 53%, said they were somewhat or very comfortable with the Mormon president, while 42% said a Mormon president would make them somewhat or very uncomfortable. The level of comfort with the Mormon president has risen to importance in the 2012 nomination battle because there are two Mormon candidates in the race, former Massachusetts Governor Mitt Romney and former Utah Governor Jon Huntsman. In the most recent USA Today Gallup poll, Romney is tied with businessman Herman Cain at the top of the field, a position Romney has maintained throughout this race. We're going to take a quick break. Please stay with CNBG News as we will be right back with more headlines. News, I'm April Howard. In more news from around the U.S., a 19-year-old Marine was found dead in his Camp Pendleton barracks. Investigators say he had been beaten to death by a fellow Marine. Lance Corporal Mario Arias Jr. from Canoga Park, California, was attacked at the San Diego County base over the weekend. The Naval Criminal Investigation Service said the suspect is being treated in a hospital for significant injuries sustained when he jumped from a third-floor balcony. Two sources at Camp Pendleton say the suspect was apparently drinking when he was confronted by Arias about his alcohol use, causing the suspect to become enraged. Arias' friends and former teachers say he enlisted after high school and that his sister was also a Marine. A close friend says his sister was a Marine who looked up to her, admired her, and wanted to follow in her footsteps. Mississippi voters Tuesday rejected a controversial amendment that would have defined life as the beginning at conception. The Mississippi amendment would have made it impossible to get an abortion in the state and hamper the ability to get the morning after pill or birth control pills that destroy fertilized eggs. Disposing of unused fertilized eggs could have also become illegal, making in vitro fertilization treatments more difficult. Pro-life groups around the nation opposed the measure, and the Catholic Church of Mississippi called the measure extreme. Meanwhile, voters in Ohio repealed a law that limited the collective bargaining rights of public workers. The controversial law prohibited strikes and promotions based on seniority only, and required public workers to contribute at least 10% of their income toward their pensions and at least 15% to pay for their health insurance care. 2 p.m. Eastern Time today marked the first ever nationwide test of the Emergency Alert System, a system with Cold War roots that enables the president to address the American public within 10 minutes from any location at any time. Although state and local communities regularly use the system to notify communities about tornadoes, child abductions, and other events, all previous tests of the system have been local or regional. Today's test is the first national test featuring a live presidential alert code, which instructs TV and radio stations that the alert tests priority over all other programming. The test will be aired on every broadcast, cable, and satellite station in the nation, as well as every AM, FM, and satellite radio station. In the event of a real emergency, the test would originate from wherever the president is. The test was brief and only lasted 30 seconds from start to finish. The United States Air Force Mortuary says it has lost body parts from those that died in war. The information has finally been released after a year-long investigation review of 14 sets of allegations of improper handling of war remains. The Air Force Inspector General, however, found no violations of law or regulation in any of the 14 cases. The General's report did, however, cite a series of failures by top officials. The report found that in several cases, the body parts of human remains were missing. All the families have been notified of the investigation into the cases. In news from around the world powers expressed alarm Wednesday at a critical report documenting Iran's progress toward making a nuclear bomb, with the British Foreign Secretary warning that his nation would take strong measures if the Islamic Republic did not change direction. In its most detailed report to date on the military dimensions of Iran's nuclear program, the International Atomic Energy Agency found no evidence that Iran has made a strategic decision to actually build a bomb. But the report also noted its nuclear program is more ambitious and structured, and more progress has been made than previously known. According to the report, Iran is believed to have continued weapons research and technology development after 2003, when the intelligence community thought Iran had stopped. Instead of halting, it seems Iran took a temporary hiatus at the time. Iranian officials slammed the Atomic Energy Agency's report as a fabrication of facts aimed at satisfying U.S. allegations about Iran's nuclear program. According to authorities, a total of 153 bodies have been identified from the 2009 crash of Air France Flight 447. A total of 153 bodies have been identified from the 2009 crash of Air France Flight 447. It took four searches over the course of nearly 2 years to locate the bulk of the wreckage and majority of the bodies in a mountain range deep under the ocean. Many of the bodies and the plane's recorders were recovered early this year. Between 60 and 70 insurgents were killed after launching an attack on an Afghan National Security Force base Tuesday night. The insurgents were carrying light and heavy weapons when they attacked the base in the Barmal district of Paktika province. They were met with resistance from Afghan National Security Forces and NATO air support. The investigation was underway to determine the attackers' identities. No Afghan or NATO forces were injured in the incident. A Turkish news agency says an earthquake with a preliminary 5.7 magnitude has caused some buildings to collapse in the eastern part of the country. Just over 2 weeks ago, a 7.2 earthquake hit Turkey, killing 600 people. Today's quake brought down buildings that were damaged in the early trembler. It is not known if anyone was trapped under the debris. Several global businesses fear the 2012 London Olympic Games will not bring economic growth. Researchers are estimating few people will travel to the Olympic Games because several people have used retirement accounts to continue living comfortably. The London Games start July 27th and end August 12th. The Olympic Committee is still urging the city to prepare for large crowds and heavy security. We're going to take a short break. Please stay with us. CMBG News will be right back. Welcome back to CMBG News. Thanks for joining me. I'm April Howard. Let's take a look at news from today's pop culture world. There is lots of drama surrounding the upcoming Oscar ceremony. It has nothing to do with the films. Both Eddie Murphy and Brett Ratner have dropped out as host and producer of the 2012 ceremony. Controversy first started when producer Brett Ratner left the position after he was heavily criticized for using a gay slur during a question and answer session for his new film Tower Heist, in which Murphy stars. He was also criticized for sexual and other statements he made about women on the Howard Stern show. Murphy, who was slated to host, considers Ratner his creative partner, and with him gone, Eddie Murphy was no longer interested in serving as host. According to a statement Wednesday from the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, Eddie Murphy has withdrawn as host of the Oscars. Organizers now have to find both a new host and producer for the February 26th ceremony. At the age of 31, Chinese NBA star Yao Ming has begun his college career. The retired basketball star and Shanghai native began classes on Monday, 2 months after his classmates started the academic year. The school, Shanghai's Jiao Tong University, has built a special chair for him to sit through his lectures. Yao, who retired from the NBA in July after injury-plagued career as a center with the Houston Rockets, will study at Jiao Tong University's Management School. His course load would include English, math, modern Chinese history, as well as finance and journalism. Because of the constant media attention and frenzied fan interest, Yao will be taking some of his classes on one-on-one tutorials with his professors. Yesterday, the hip-hop world lost rapper Heavy D. Heavy D had seen a doctor in the days before his death on Tuesday, and police said in a statement there was no evidence of foul play. Heavy D experienced breathing problems at his home and then collapsed. Heavy D was 44 years old. Now that Conrad Murray has been found guilty in Jackson's death, what's next? After the guilty verdict was read Monday in a Los Angeles courtroom, Murray was immediately handcuffed and taken into custody. It has been reported that the 58-year-old is not on suicide watch. According to the New York Post, Murray could be sentenced to anything from probation to 4 years behind bars. Michael Jackson's brother Jermaine said justice was served as he and the rest of the family braved huge crowds to leave the courthouse, while Sister Rebe added, "Nothing will bring him back, but I'm happy Murray was found guilty." Sister Latoya tweeted, "Victory! We're most proud of the Walgreen team. You did an excellent job in your request to seek justice for Michael and my family," referring to prosecutor David Walgreen. Murray's defense lawyer Ed Chernoff made no comment about whether Murray will appeal against the criminal conviction. Murray had admitted to giving Jackson a small amount of propofol to help him sleep, but not the massive amount of the drug, which was normally used in a hospital setting as an anesthetic, found in his body. Jackson died on June 25, 2009. Also with the Conrad Murray case, days after reading the guilty conviction has been read, network cable news company MSNBC will broadcast a documentary that is said will highlight the story of the doctor. MSNBC said Murray will break his silence in the program entitled Michael Jackson and the Doctor. He is set to reveal personal details of his relationship with the legendary king of pop, as well as untold events that happened the night Michael Jackson died. The film will premiere Friday and be rebroadcast on Sunday. After a series of cancellations this year due to vocal issues, singer Adele has undergone throat-related surgery at Massachusetts General Hospital. The British singer is expected to make a full recovery. In a statement, the hospital explains that Adele underwent laser microsurgery to put a stop to recurrent vocal cord hemorrhage, which typically is the result of blood vessels in the vocal cord that can rupture. In late October, Adele canceled the remainder of her 2011 appearances with the announcement that she was planning to have this operation. Those who purchased tickets to see Adele at a 2011 engagement have been able to seek a refund. Media mogul Oprah Winfrey will receive an honorary Oscar. The prestigious Jean Hersholt Humanitarian Award will be presented to Winfrey Saturday at the Kodak Theater in Los Angeles, California, from the Academy of Motion Pictures of Arts and Sciences. Some have criticized the move by the Academy, saying she belongs more in the television world than film. Winfrey said she understands the criticism, but says she was given the award for her humanitarian contributions. Winfrey was nominated for an Oscar herself for her role in The Color Purple. She has also produced several high-profile films, such as Beloved and Precious. Elizabeth Taylor, Quincy Jones, Jerry Lewis, and Paul Newman are some of the previous recipients of the award. And in business news, fear from Italy's debt crisis is hitting close to home. U.S. stocks sold off sharply after Italy's 10-year bond yield spiked above 7%. It's the highest since the euro launched in 1999. The Dow Jones Industrial Average tumbled 400 points, 3.3%, with all 30 of the blue chip index's components firmly in red. The S&P 500 sank 45 points, which is 3.5%, and the Nasdaq dropped 102 points, or 3.7%. Bank stocks were among the big losers, with Citigroup, Goldman Sachs, and Morgan Stanley down more than 6%. JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America, and Wells Fargo shells for more than 4%. The U.S. isn't the only one feeling the crunch. European markets also sold off, and the euro slumped more than 2% against the U.S. dollar. A set of economic reforms is making its way through the Italian parliament, and the Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi has agreed to resign after the budget reforms are approved, but they might not happen until December. Losses widened at mortgage giant Fannie Mae in the third quarter, forcing the government-controlled firm to request another $7.8 billion from the Treasury Department. Tuesday, the company reported a net loss of $5.1 billion compared to a net loss of $2.9 billion in the second quarter. A year ago, Fannie Mae reported a net loss of $1.3 billion. The current quarter's loss was driven mainly by continued delinquency issues in mortgages it had purchased or guaranteed before 2009. Additionally, Fannie Mae suffered an increase in expenses related to foreclosed properties. Declining interest rates have also contributed to the company's losses. Last week, Fannie Mae's twin Freddie Mac asked the government for an additional $6.6 billion after reporting a $4.4 billion quarterly loss. It has now received $72 billion from the Treasury Department. You might have to pay more for your pecan pies this Thanksgiving holiday. Pecans are in tight supply in the U.S. thanks to a crop-damaging drought and jump in demand from Chinese consumers. According to Jeff Warren, vice president of South Georgia's pecan company, pecan prices are expected to hit $11 per pound or more this year in supermarkets. That's up 22% from 2010. China is the one driving the force behind the pop in pecan prices. The Chinese diet is high in nuts, and the country's demand for American pecans took off in 2007. South Georgia pecans, Jeff Warren estimates that Texas generally produces 70 million pounds of the nuts per year, but says this year's crop is expected to be just 30 million pounds. What would you do if you can work for a single company for 5 years and get a $50,000 check? Well, one small business owner is putting his money where his mouth is when it comes to appreciating his employees. Dan Schneider, founder and CEO of SIB Development and Consulting in Charleston, South Carolina, is offering $50,000 bonuses to any of his full-time employees who stay with his company for 5 years. Schneider says in this day and age there is nothing that makes people loyal to companies anymore. There are no strings attached. He is also offering for employees to stay on for 25 years and get $250,000 in bonus cash. Schneider says he looks forward to giving out the money. While the U.S. may be experiencing economic woes, there is one company who doesn't seem to be getting hit. McDonald's reported a higher than expected rise in worldwide October sales at established restaurants, aided by popular promotional games such as Monopoly. McDonald's has been outpacing such rivals as Wendy's, Burger King, and Yum Brands KFC by attracting a broader range of diners than fast food's typical young adult males. It has done that with menu items like kids' meals, premium Angus beef hamburgers, and a selection of high-margin drinks, ranging from lattes to fruit smoothies. It is also renovating its dining areas to be more modern and comfortable. For those who participated in the 2011 McDonald's Monopoly game, which is concluded, and if you are a winner, the deadline for claiming your prize is November 21st, 2011. We're going to take a short break. Please stay with CMVG News as we'll be back with our top stories of the day. Thank you.